On the steppes of Mongolia, horse races are fast and furious. It's a high adrenaline cultural tradition. The jockeys are children, some as young as 5 years old. In their quest for victory, many are injured. Some even fall to their deaths. I'm Steve Chow. On this edition of 101 East, we investigate whether Mongolia's child jockeys are being exploited in the name of tradition.
It's 4 a.m. and the summer sun is starting to rise over Mongolia. In a land where horses symbolise national strength, herders have depended on these sturdy animals for thousands of years.
The horse is a friend. We love them. They're like humans in our eyes.
At this time of year, Bill Gungril, or Billy as he's known, is up early on his motorbike, training his prized racehorses.
Horses may be small size compared to overseas, but they're strong. They endure the freezing cold and summer heat, and we take care of them so they race well in spring and summer.
Billy and his family live in Henty, a remote, beautiful province. Like generations of Mongolians before him, he's a herder with thousands of livestock. In a country where racing is in every herder's blood, Billy's 200 horses are his pride and joy.
When your horse wins, your family and the province feel happy, especially during big races. It's not about trophies. I train horses out of my love for them. Our children also carry forward this tradition as well.
This year, carrying the family's hope on his small shoulders is Billy's son, 5-year-old Babu. There are 30,000 child jockeys like him across Mongolia. By law, they should be at least 7 years old. But Billy says only small children compete in horse races, and they start learning the ropes as toddlers. He's only 5 years old. Isn't that a little young?
Our horses are like ponies. It's different from Western countries. That's why children have to ride and race. At most, a child should weigh 40 kilograms. My eldest son was that heavy when he turned 9.
Babu is getting ready for his first ever race. It'll be held during Nadam, Mongolia's annual summer festival, where the warrior spirit is celebrated with fiercely competitive sports. Stretching over 30 kilometres, the horse races there are some of the longest in the world. But that doesn't scare Babu. Nadam is just a week away. Babu's mother is busy preparing him meals to make sure he has the strength to compete. Keen to do an interview? Do you want to do an interview? Babu dreams big. He wants to win at Nadam. He sure is boisterous. It's hard to get him to concentrate or keep still.
Do you want to go sit in the chair? Oh, you ate my hair. Well, you ate my hair. What do you expect? Oh, my God. Come on, sit down. Yep, good boy.
Sometimes it's easier to just give into his fighting spirit.
Come on, come on, come on. Ah! Oh, for a 5-year-old, he certainly packs a punch.
I can't help but think, is he mature enough to ride a stallion in a marathon race?
Babu is very naughty and active, but when he rides, he totally transforms.
Most mornings and evenings, Babu trains for his first race with the horses on the steppe. His father is always by his side.
I trained him from a very young age. I believe Babu can win.
Mongolian racehorses begin their lives roaming wild on the steppes. Today, Babu's dad Billy and his brother Amgar are breaking one in. Next year, Babu will race on this horse. Nomadic herders like Billy can earn good money through racing. If their horses place in the top 5, they can sell them to professional trainers as valuable breeding stock.
If you ask me, we're keeping our tradition. But probably there are people running horse racing like it's a business.
To understand how traditional horse racing is changing, we drive for a day to meet a professional trainer. Buyunkashik pays his child jockeys $250 a month to race. The professional trainer chooses jockeys like he does his horses.
You have to look at their body, whether they are fit, and you have to see how they communicate with their elders.
The boys spend a few months at the camp learning the ropes and training the horses. The International Labour Organization says Mongolia's use of young jockeys is a dangerous form of child labour. Buyunkashik disagrees.
Do you think that trainers treat child jockeys fairly?
The child must like riding. You can't force the jockey to ride in the race. We give some money to the family so that way it will benefit the child's education. I don't see it as exploitation.
Professional trainers are always looking for ways to make their horses lightning quick. Today, the young jockeys are helping their boss burn a pungent mix of bone, butter, tea and cow dung. Buyunkashik believes that inhaling the smoke will energise the animals.
It takes away the sorrow of the horse, so the horse will be ready to race. Each horse is smoked 3 to 5 times before a race.
Other trainers also use supplements, vitamins, or illegally breed their horses with faster, bigger foreign stallions. But he says today's jockeys are not skilled enough to handle them.
The current jockeys are a lot weaker. At my age, all the children were in the countryside. But these days, children are too busy playing video games and living in the city.
Buyunkashik has been so successful at the racetrack, he can only fit half of his awards into this tent. He says victory brings more than just glory.
Horse racing gives us a lot of rewards and lucrative benefits from Nadam. Today, betting happens and it's getting more popular. It's benefiting our lives.
With lots of money to be made, the number of races has soared. Instead of just a summer event, they're now also held in winter, despite the dangerous conditions. It's made it a riskier sport. In the last 5 years, 1,500 child jockeys have been injured and 10 killed. Shao Dirch's grave lies in a quiet cemetery.
I miss everything about him. I ask why I kept sending him to race and why we taught him to ride a horse.
Her son was just 7 years old when his life was cut short during one fateful Nadam race.
Every time Nadam happens, even though the horse races are on TV, we cannot watch.
In 2013, Shao Dirch's parents were waiting for him at the finish line on this field. He was competing in a horse race organised by the local government. But that day, they say the field was in no condition for a race.
The grass was so high. It was wild. The track used to be a wheat field. That's why the grass was so high.
The whole track was not suitable for a horse race because there were too many mouse holes around the hill. The horse's foot fell through one, then my boy fell off.
The boy slipped off his saddle and he was trampled by the racing pack. With no helmet to protect him, his skull was crushed.
I rode as fast as I could to the hospital. When I got there, he had died. I sat next to my son for an hour in silence.
Shao Dirch and his family aren't the only victims of this ancient sporting tradition.
Hi guys, how are you? Nice
I'm visiting Botgarov, a former jockey who started working for a professional trainer when he was 8 years old. Botgarov says he severely injured his leg after falling off a horse in a practice race.
There was no safety suit and helmet at the time. It's maybe one of the reasons I got injured.
He says the trainer failed to provide proper medical treatment or compensation after his fall. For the last 7 years, Botgarov has been in and out of surgery. A week ago, his leg was amputated.
What the doctor advised is to remove my leg because the bone was getting infected.
Botgarov's trainer admits he never gave the boy safety equipment during the 2 years he rode at his stable, but denies the accident happened while Botgarov was working for him. Botgarov's injury has left him with few options.
If I had my leg, I would be a trainer. I regret my decisions. All my school friends graduated, but I have no education. I'm trying to become a carpenter because I can still use my hands. That's what my future holds.
When a child jockey dies or is seriously injured in a race, the maximum penalty is an $8,000 fine, and there is no criminal investigation. Are the punishments strong enough in Mongolia?
Not that strong. We don't have strong enough punishment yet. Nobody went to jail so far for children's deaths in the horse race.
Is that a problem?
It's a big problem because nobody was sued and the state never prosecuted anyone for children's deaths.
Why not?
I think it's powers involved.
The powers support the trainers.
Yes. As of now, many influential politicians from every party are horse trainers.
Oyungerul Sevdev was the former culture minister and used to oversee Nadam horse races, which are largely state-sponsored. She says commercialism is now ruining this ancient tradition.
I would say that in the last 10 years, money is very much involved in our horse culture. In past, like a Nadam was only once a year event. But now there are so many commercial races. Children, if they go with horse racing, that child is like all year employed child.
The government says they are doing more to protect jockeys by conducting spot checks at races. Since 2011, children have also been required by law to wear helmets and protective equipment during all races. But the former politician believes that's not enough.
Is this child exploitation?
If child spends too much time on horseback, it becomes an exploitation.
In the days before Nadam, trainers organised practice races.
I know this is practice, but it really is quite shocking how few of those kids are wearing helmets.
When the practice session ends, we meet up with Adya Magna, who is here training his stallion. He's a powerful racing figure who is also involved in setting up the new safety rules for the sport.
So many of the kids weren't wearing helmets during that race.
Wearing helmets was one of the major measures that I introduced a couple of years ago. Before that, kids just wore cotton hats. Safety measures are quite a new thing in Mongolia. It's just the beginning.
Despite being the man who wrote the rules, he says it's not a big deal if kids ride without protection.
I started riding horses when I was 3 to 4 years old. Until now, I'm still alive. I don't have many injuries. My feet and hands are very strong. I'm expecting to turn 80 years old.
Magna rejects those who criticise the dangers of horse racing.
The people who say these aren't Mongolian. This soil belongs to Mongolians. We are born here, we live here, and we die here. This is where the horses gallop. Where there is soil, horse racing will never die.
It's the morning of the Nadam summer races. Back in Henty, Babu's big day has arrived. The 5-year-old is awake, but is not his usual energetic self. His father and older brother Amgar are travelling to the races to help Babu through his first race. Not that Babu seems to care. He's grumpy. Or maybe it's nerves. Before heading to the races, Babu's mother offers horse milk to the spirits.
This is the way of wishing success. I am proud of Babu.
As Billy and the other horse trainers set up camp, the other traditional contests like archery and wrestling are already underway.
It feels like a country fair, but for all its quaintness, there are more than 300 of these events happening across Mongolia during the Nadam festival.
Before heading out to the starting line, the jockeys sing a spiritual chant to rouse their horses. Babu has shaken off his nerves and is raring to go.
You excited? You can't help but feel a little bit nervous for him right now. See you, mate.
At the race registration point, many jockeys aren't wearing any safety equipment. Some wear flimsy bike helmets. Babu and the other riders will race 24 kilometres on a dusty track. At the starting gates, the racers jostle for a good position. When the pack storms out, Babu is slow to find early momentum. Billy spots Babu's silver helmet. The riders break off into groups. Suddenly, Babu finds his stirrups and picks up the pace. It's quite a fight back for the 5-year-old. The front runners are within sight. Billy urges his son on. At the halfway mark, Babu is keeping up, but he sometimes veers off the track. Another group of riders are in hot pursuit. All seems lost, but then Babu hits back, passing one, then two, then three riders. It's a great result. In Babu's first race, he came 6th against scores of other riders. Billy says it was a promising debut.
The main thing he has to improve is to stay on the racing track. He whips the horse too much at the wrong time.
Were you proud of your performance?
The top 5 winning trainers are presented with mare's milk. It's a celebration of strength and endurance that plays out across Mongolia. Today, they're the toast of this tiny town. But tomorrow, Babu and the other jockeys will be back in the saddle, vying for victory in one of the greatest spectacles on the steppes. But to preserve a centuries-old tradition, they will be risking life and limb. In this grand nomadic nation, the children are born to ride.